Hello and welcome to the channel. This channel is about perimenopause, menopause and also other life issues that women can experience at this time. Today I'm going to be talking about hot flushes and night sweats. Hot flushes and night sweats are probably the most common symptom for women going through perimenopause, and even in menopause itself, they don't necessarily stop. We may make jokes about them, but it's not funny. They can quite often be debilitating. They can be accompanied by a little bit of brain fog, palpitations, and can actually get quite distressing. Now, the reason why women experience these hot flushes and night sweats is due to hormonal fluctuation. When your hormones are fluctuating up and down, it can really throw your body off balance. Now, your body's got its own temperature control system built in, known as the hypothalamus, which is actually inside your brain. And the hormone fluctuation can actually confuse the hypothalamus, and it thinks you are getting hot, even if you are not getting hot at all. So your body is then going to react in such a way to protect itself from overheating and cool itself down. So hence you start sweating and you start going red in the face, and your body is working overtime to cool you down. But unfortunately, it's confused. It's not doing what you want it to do at that time. So it's not actually just your hormone activity that can confuse your brain into this. So while the hormones going up and down are the main issue with this, you can actually find there are other triggers for you as well that can start it off. So even if you think, oh, I've been going through quite a good phase, my hormones seem to be quite stable at the moment, they're behaving quite well, there is other things that can trigger it off, and there's some common ones. The most common ones for triggering a hot flush or a night sweat are caffeine and alcohol, even being in a room that is overheated somewhat, and also spicy food, sugary food and fatty food. They're all really common triggers that can set it off for you. Now, we're all different, all women are different, and you might find there are certain things that trigger a hot flush or increase night sweats for you personally. And so keeping a food diary is a really, really good idea, because if you see there's a pattern emerging, say every time you eat or drink a certain thing, you end up going into a hot flush, or you find that that night you end up being woken up a dozen times, absolutely soaked from head to foot in sweat, at least you've got an idea. You're gaining some kind of control over it. You know what to avoid, or you know what to expect if you think, oh well, I am going to have a glass of wine. Red wine particularly is known for triggering hot flushes, but at least you're in a position to judge. You're getting a little bit of that control back over your hormone fluctuation and what your body's doing without you really wanting it to. Now, there are certain things you can do, particularly say in the day for hot flushes. Now, night sweats are basically a hot flush, but during the evening they are a little bit more difficult to cope with, because obviously you're asleep at the time, so you can't really tackle them head on. But during the day, you're in a better position to tackle them, but also to be prepared. Now, I know that layering your clothing is something that you're told to do, is in an effort to keep warm. But layering your clothing, thin layers, and cotton fabric is the best because it's breathable and it's more natural. But if you layer your clothing, at least when you're in a public place, on a bus, at work, in the supermarket, you can take off a layer at a time to allow you to cool down, but without bearing your all in public. So that's one tip when you're out and about. Another tip is, of course, always carry a cold drink. Water is best, really good for hydration. Carry a bottle of water with you at all times, because dehydration isn't going to do your hot flushes any favours at all. And another thing, and this is my favourite, and I've got loads of these, is always carry a fan. So if you always carry a fan, now one of these, this is a traditional handheld fan. You can get them in gift shops, you can get them on market stalls. They're ideal. Always keep one with you. I take mine out even in the middle of winter because you never know when a hot flush is going to strike. Now you can buy battery operated fans too, and I've even seen little tiny fans that plug into the bottom of your smartphone. So if you're out and about, carry water, carry a fan, and keep your clothing layered so that you can take the clothing off one layer at a time without feeling like you're exposing yourself in public. So they're just a few tips for when you're out and about. When you're at home, obviously you can have electric fans in the house. I think I've got one in just about every room. They're absolutely brilliant. One in the bedroom is definitely a must, and that will definitely help with the night sweats. So if you suffer with night sweats, then obviously fan in the room. Keep your bedding layered again, like you would your clothing during the day. Keep your bedding layered, and then you can peel off or put back on a layer at a time as you need it. Failing that, if you find layers are a bit of a faff, have a summer quilt. Again, if you can keep your bedding cotton, that is absolutely great. So your duvet cover and your sheets, if you can keep them cotton, that really, really helps to keep you cool. And then you can have like a nice fleecy blanket across the bottom of the bed. Looks lovely, but if you do find that you're having a cool night, and you're chilly, you can pull that up over the top. Now with your nightwear, definitely wear the minimum amount of nightwear as you possibly can. You're at home, nobody can see you. Don't overdo it with big cuddly fleecy pyjamas. Absolutely lovely and snuggly until about 3 o'clock in the morning or so, and then you're going to wake up absolutely drenched in sweat. Also, by the side of your bed, if you make sure you have a cool bottle of water there ready for in the night, that will help. Keep your bedroom cool, and if you keep it also as dark as you can with blackout blinds and blackout curtains, that also helps with the sleep, which is a difficult thing for us women at this time. But keep your bedroom cool. Turn the radiator off, turn your heating off for some time before you're going to go to bed. Don't go to bed in a hot room, because even generally we sleep better in a cooler room. I'm not quite sure if it's something to do with the brain. Our brains get really quite overheated with our heads on the pillow. This is why we move around in the night. It's to do with cooling ourselves down anyway. So keep your bedroom nice and cool. Keep your bedding light, minimum amount of clothing. Have a nice fan in the room, electric fan or even a handheld fan. But if you've got an electric fan, you can just one touch of the switch and then you're instantly cooling down there. So those are a few tips for your hot flushes and night sweats. Of course, the hot flushes can be a little bit easier to deal with when you're at home, because you can strip right down if you want to without embarrassment. But when you're out and about, follow the tips that I've just given you and you'll find they help. The other thing as well with the hot flushes is there's an embarrassment factor for a lot of women. They feel embarrassed because they're having a moment, they're having a hot flush, they're fanning themselves and they're in public. The thing is, don't be embarrassed. It is a perfectly natural part of a woman's life. I know not all women get hot flushes, but between about 70 to 80% do. So wherever you are in public, if you're having a hot flush, don't be embarrassed. You're not going to be the only woman in the room or on the bus or in the office that is having a hot flush. Because if you get embarrassed, you're going to create yourself some anxiety. You create yourself some anxiety, it's going to make your hot flush far worse, and it's likely to make you have other symptoms with it, such as palpitations and severe sweating and brain fog. Your brain will be scrambled because you've got yourself in a state. Do not be embarrassed, believe me. Even if you want to look up and smile and make a joke about it, fine, but do not be embarrassed. You're not doing anything wrong, it's not something you've chosen, and it's something that is perfectly natural. Now, there is another thing that perhaps sounds a little bit odd, but there's such a thing as a cold flush. And there's a surprising amount of women that suffer with cold flushes, and they quite often follow a hot flush. So if you have a hot flush and you're doing all the things, all the tips that you've been told to do, things I've advised, things other people have told you to do, that's great. But try and get the cooling down gradual, because if you cool down too quickly, you can actually trigger a cold flush. And then you're sitting there going from absolutely boiling hot, feeling like you've gone into meltdown, to absolutely freezing cold. And then you try and warm up again, but you try and warm up really quickly. And if you warm up too quickly, then you trigger another hot flush. So you can end up with a cycle. So cool down gradually. And if you do suffer with cold flushes, or you find that they tend to follow one of your hot flushes or one of your night sweats, then warm up gradually, slowly, do it gently. Let your body and your brain get used to the temperature change gradually, because otherwise you might end up just triggering off one thing or another. Okay, so I hope the tips have been helpful, and thank you for watching. I'm going to sign off for now. That's all for today, but I will be putting on several more videos in this series about different symptoms, how to cope with them, and also other life things that can affect us women. It's not all necessarily hormonal. There are things at this time of life that generally crop up, and a few tips could be helpful. So if you'd like to know when further videos are coming up, if you would like to click on the notification bell and subscribe at the bottom, I believe, below this video. And thank you very much for listening. Bye for now.